Energy Security and Net Zero Secretary Ed Miliband joins us live from Baku, of course, where he's there for COP with the Prime Minister. Very good morning to you, Mr. Miliband. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
First, your take, if I may, quickly on this unemployment data. 4.3%, of course, is still historically low, but nonetheless a rise, and a bigger rise than had been expected. Is that something to be concerned about?
Well, look, we don't want to see any rise in unemployment, and that's why in the budget, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, set out a whole range of measures, including to help people back to work. We're also announcing today, through Scottish Power, a big investment in wind turbine manufacturing at Siemens in Hull, helping 1,300 people, really, really important, good jobs. So, look, this is a government absolutely focused on tackling unemployment and giving people opportunities right across the country.
To what extent is Donald Trump dominating the conversation there at COP?
You know, it would be wrong to say that the US election is not discussed, but I think what's so striking about what's happening here is that whether you talk to business or whether you talk to other countries, people are getting on with this transition. You know, this is an unstoppable transition, and the reason is, and the reason I'm here, is this is in our national self-interest as a country. This is about jobs, it's about energy security, it's about lower energy bills, and it's about taking the action to protect future generations. So obviously what different countries, including the US, do is of absolute relevance here, but I think the overwhelming sense I get is that people are pressing on with this transition because it's in their national self-interest.
Is there any sense of disappointment? Are you in any way disappointed about the turnout of top-level leaders? Is Sir Keir Starmer one of the most important people there because some of the biggest countries haven't sent their top leader?
Well, look, obviously I speak for Britain, and I think it's absolutely right that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is here. He is here banging the drum for Britain, making the case for clean energy investment. I was with a whole set of businesses this morning, potential investors in the UK. But he's also doing this because the whole attitude of this government is Britain's got to be on the world stage fighting for our country. There's no point in shrinking or backing off from these big issues that we face, because we owe it to future generations to be here, to be making the case. And there are so many countries who want to work with Britain, who want to see British leadership, and who also recognise the power of what we are doing. Because whether it is our commitment to clean power by 2030, or the Prime Minister's announcement of climate targets later on today, they see Britain modelling a transition which can be good for energy security, good for tackling energy bills, lowering energy bills, and creating the good jobs that our country needs.
Obviously, Minister, compared to 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, there's less money in the budget towards clean energy than there was, you know, in your plans a long time ago. I know you're going to make up the difference from the private sector, and you've laid out your plans. My question to you today is, are you very confident that by 2030 you can decarbonise the UK's energy supplies and also lower consumer energy costs at the same time? Are you as confident today about that as ever before?
You know, in a sense, I'm more confident because we went into the election with those plans. Some people were critical of them, and now we've had the National Energy System Operator, the independent National Energy System Operator, which has said these plans are achievable, they can lower the cost of electricity, and they will crucially, and this is the most important point in a way, they will take us off the reliance of our electricity system on the ups and downs of fossil fuel markets. Because at the moment, we await the energy price cap each quarter, but it's driven so much by international gas prices. And whether we get the gas from the North Sea or we get the gas internationally, we don't control that. The great thing about low carbon power, whether it's renewables or nuclear, is we control it. The price is set and we have control. And whether it's businesses or households, I think they want to see that security. And so absolutely I'm confident about the plans, and I'm confident they're the right thing for Britain.
You mentioned the report from the National Energy Systems Operator. They mention in it 15 times that to reach decarbonisation by 2030 will require demand-side flexibility. They say that, in fact, will be vital. What do they mean by that? Is that people only doing certain things at night, or what exactly?
No, look, what it means is, and this has been trialled before, and I'm glad you've asked me about this, is on an absolutely voluntary basis, people in the future will be able to use things at certain times, maybe running the dishwasher, running the washing machine, doing certain things in their home, and get lower tariffs at different times of day. At the moment, we don't have that kind of system. And actually, frankly, it was the last government that said they would introduce what they call half-hourly settlements so that people would actually get the benefit of that. And there's been trials of this, and it's shown massive responsiveness. So there's been some nonsense talked about this. You know, just to be absolutely clear about this is actually giving people the power, giving people the control themselves so they can get better deals and manage things properly. And the combination of smart meters and this half-hourly settlements is the way to go, because actually it's about putting power in the hands of consumers and getting people lower energy bills as a result.
So it would be purely optional and down to the consumer, and in no way instructed
Definitely.
or regulated?
No, absolutely not. And I can be completely clear about this. And you know, it's part of having a more flexible system. And the great thing about it, the exciting thing about this in a way, is with battery power, for example, so large-scale battery systems. Some people are having batteries in their homes, increasing incentives to do that. Heat pumps, you can actually give people much more control over their power. That is the long-term vision, but just to be absolutely clear about this, entirely voluntary.
I wanted to come back to the headline of this. You promised people that you'll decarbonise the energy system by 2030 and lower consumer energy costs. We don't know what's going to happen in world energy markets in the years ahead. Which of those two pledges is more important to you? If you had to abandon one of them because market factors change, which would you abandon?
Well, it's not a question of abandoning either of them, because one is the route to the other. Look, the whole point about 2030 clean power is it means that we have cheaper, clean renewables as the backbone of the system, which we can rely on. At the moment, I don't control what happens to the gas price. The gas price can go up because, for example, Putin's invasion of Ukraine drove the gas price up.
I understand that, Mr. Miliband, but with all due respect, you don't control the prices of lithium and cobalt and nickel and God knows what else that goes into battery storage, which is critical to your plan, and you don't control the price of copper, which is critical to upgrading the national grid. So it is totally plausible that commodity prices change such that you can't deliver both of these things. In that hypothetical scenario, which is quite possible, which do you abandon?
I'm not going to get into the hypotheticals. Look, all I can say to you is, you know, don't take my word for it. Look at the independent NISO report. It says it can lead to a price of electricity about £10 per kilowatt hour cheaper, and you know that is the key point. And it is. But you know, the most important cost.
Do you have any greater control over battery prices than you do over gas prices?
No, but well, the right comparison is this. The right comparison is the cost of gas or fossil fuels and the price of wind power. And the difference with wind power is that we set the contracts for 15 years ahead, unlike the price of gas, which fluctuates on the market. And so the major cost in the system is that. As I say, all I can say to you is all of the evidence is we can get lower bills, and crucially, and just this is the most important point, we reduce our exposure. Because the problem is, at the moment, when we're reliant on gas, we are gambling, I'm afraid, with the British people's money on fossil fuel prices. And that's why when Putin invaded Ukraine, suddenly you saw this terrible cost of living crisis. We've got to get away from that for British households, British families, British businesses, and that's what our plan's all about.
Well, I mean, obviously batteries will be crucial to wind power, but you're talking about reliance there as well, which I totally understand, and obviously other countries in Europe were particularly reliant on supply from Russia. Do you acknowledge that this plan, particularly because of its need for energy storage and battery capacity, will increase, whether marginally or significantly, our reliance on China, who are the only realistic supplier by 2030 of batteries to us?
Well, look, I think the problem is at the moment we are too dependent on a country like China. We've got to diversify our supply chains. So there are British battery manufacturers, and part of the job of our industrial strategy and what we're focused on is diversifying our supply chains. You know, we're talking today about a clean industry bonus, which will reward offshore wind developers for investing and procuring in Britain. What's that about? It's about creating good jobs, and it is absolutely about diversifying our supply chains. The truth is, it's taken a long time for the Chinese domination of the market to happen. We want to unwind that domination by building up our domestic industry, and that is absolutely what this government is focused on doing.
And finally, Minister, quick question. Do you know how you're going to vote on the assisted dying bill? Yes,
I'll be supporting Kim Ledbetter's bill, which is what I did when this was last debated in 2015. I just want to say I totally understand the very strong arguments and the strong case on both sides. I think lots of new MPs, as your correspondent was saying, will want to listen to the debate, as I did in 2015, and make up their own minds, and I think that's absolutely the right thing. For my part, I feel that the current system is deeply cruel to lots of terminally ill people who want to have control over what happens to them, but this is it's absolutely right that MPs, it's a free vote, and MPs will make up their own minds.